Hi class, so welcome to this another video, and I'm Mark. And for today, for this week's lesson, which is correlation and regression analysis, week 7 of EDA. Um, well, honestly, this is my second video. Yung unang video ko kasi is pumalpak. But anyways, so here we're going to learn about correlation. So how we do correlation analysis, and at the same time, how we use regression analysis to predict the future. Well, not exactly predict the future, but we can predict the next possible outcomes using regression analysis. So comparing, so this is not the same with predictions yung mga hula-hula ng mga tools or expert. Okay, so yung mga kasi ito yung gagamitin natin is based on scientific facts and data. Alright, so correlation, for example. So for example, we use correlation or regression analysis in determining how likely a typhoon is going to go on a certain path. Okay, so question number one is that where will the typhoon go? So looking at if the typhoon is currently here, you can think of so many possible ways that the typhoon will go. So pwedeng dito, pwedeng dito, pwedeng dito, 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 o pwede rin dito, pwede rin siya magstay dyan. Right? So, yun yung mga tinutukoy ko. So, there are many possible ways or many possible ways that typhoon will go. But how can we know, how can we determine where will that typhoon will go? So, another question is, how is it possible that Pag-asa can predict the path of typhoons? The quick answer for this one is that they use regression correlation, or they rely heavily on computer modeling system based on several years of previous data. So it means that Pag-asa uses data, a long period of data. So this is like a perspective study. And then from perspective study, okay, so this is a graph of prediction error and the year. So yung mga red dots na yan, are data points telling us that in the year 1970, ang prediction error of, let's say, for example, Pag-asa is around, nasa malapit to 300. So, ibig sabihin, in that particular year, nakakapagawa sila ng 200 to 300 errors in prediction. While here in 2010, mababa na yung prediction error nila. So, it means they're getting better at predicting how the typhoon is going to behave. Right? So, going back to the data here, this is an example of a time plot series. So, binigay ko sa inyo topic last week. So, kaya nauna yung mga graphs because mag-i-introduce na ako ng mga graphs dito sa regression and correlation analysis. But more particularly, it's the time series graph because this is the most common. Okay. So, by just looking at them, you can see patterns, trends, relationships, and even occasional extraordinary values sitting apart from the others. Yung tinatawag natin mga outliers. Now, okay. Looking at the data here, ito yung outlier natin. Alright? Here, this is the data itself. I don't know what happened during this one. I don't know what happened during that time. Sobrang taas ng prediction error nila. I don't know. But overall, we can see that the flow or the data is going to this direction. It means medyo slanting siya. So, ibig sabihin, pababa yung prediction error. Ibig sabihin, nag-i-improve yung prediction nila. Okay? So, as a great philosopher, Yogi Berra said, you can observe a lot by watching. Well, medyo weird naman ito kasi nga, syempre, observation is watching. Di ba? So, scatter plots are the best way to start observing the relationship between two quantitative variables. That could either be the x and the y. So, these are examples that can be, these are examples of the questions that we can used with analysis, are the grades higher than they used to be? Okay, so that's the first question, right? So, for example, time series plot, time here. Okay. So, technology, maybe we classify technology according to its, I don't know, we copy that one. Discard. Okay, going back. So, this is a very, first example, are grades higher than they used to be? So, okay, so this is a very good question that can be answered using statistical analysis. So, for example, in time, let's say this is 2000, this is 2010, and this is 2020. Right, so let's say that these are the grades. Okay, now the question, there are several questions about this. What kind of grades are we looking for? Are we looking for the grades of the math, science, Filipino, English? And besides, are we talking about the maximum grade or are we talking about the average grade? Now, for the average, it's obviously we're going to compare, we're going to obtain the average grade of the students for that particular. For example, another question is this for elementary students? Or is it for high school students? Or is it for college students? Okay. So, if elementary, anong grade? Is it grade 1? Is it grade 2? And for high school, is it junior? Or is it senior? For college, is it first year? Or what year? First year to fifth year? What? So, you're going to choose only one to make your analysis very easy. Now, wag nang gaya-gaya, okay? So, wag nyo nagagayahin ito. Masyado kayo, hindi kayo naghahanap ng problem. Maghanap kasi kayo. For example, mean grades ng students, for example, ang pinili natin elementary tapos grade 1. So, let's say this is math. Okay? Math. So, year 2000, so grade sila is let's say 80 ang average. So, 80 sila dito. Then 2010 biglang naging 78. Then naging 77. Right. So, ibig sabihin, yung grades ng mga bata ay pababa, which is very alarming. So, ibig sabihin, nagiging mahina ang mga students sa mathematics. Now, there are several questions about this observation. So, na-observe kasi natin na pababa yung mathematics grade nila. So, ibig sabihin, question natin yun. Bakit? I mean, bakit pababa? Is it the teacher or is it the students? Okay? So, ganun. So, second question is, do people tend to reach puberty at a younger age than in previous years? Okay? This is actually also a very good question because kasi mapapansin nyo kasi yung mga bata ngayon is mas madali nang nagsisimula sa kanilang mga kanilang mga red tide. So, ibig ko sabihin, mga example, naman ito. Okay. So, for example, ganun din. So, this is time, this is age. Natandaan nyo, laging nasa x-axis ang time. For example, yung year 1950, then 1999, then 1995, then 2000, then 2010. Okay? So, tapos, pansin nyo sa datasets nyo. Okay. Okay. Biglang ganyan na napapansin nyo. So, ibig sabihin, yung data is pag ganito. So, ibig sabihin, ang conclusion dyan natin, ang observation natin is that it is true that the age of the puberty of women or girls is lowering, okay, is lower than the previous generation. So, ibig sabihin, pababa na pababa. The third question here is, does applying magnets to parts of the body relieve pain? I mean, really? I'm not quite sure about this question. So, if it is, then stronger magnets are more effective? So, that's also a good question. So last question is, do students learn better with the use of computer technology? Now, very interesting question. This is a very interesting question because first of all, we're going to make a study. Okay, so we're going to obtain data. So let's say we're getting better. This is time. I don't know. This is very difficult. I know, very difficult to analyze because kulang kasi yung graph natin. We have to put a third graph here. So we have two y-axis, and this is a one x-axis of time. So here we're going to say that this is CPU power, and this is our grades. Let's say this is a grades in math. So for example, so what this graph can do is that it can give two kinds of points wherein merong intersect dito. Okay, so there will be a different story for this one. This is also a very good question and can be applied using correlation and regression analysis. Okay. All right. So, correlation, there are patterns. So you have to take note of the direction. Okay. So when the data sets are going upward, that is a positive. And if the points are going downward, it is a negative one. Okay. So also look for the form. Is it straight? Is it curved? Is it something exotic or no pattern at all? It means to say that it is straight is that you can see a straight line or you can see a straight pattern like this. If it is a curve, then you can expect the data is like this, right? Okay. And for exotic, I don't know, maybe this one is exotic because it doesn't really have a pattern at all. So it's very difficult for you to understand. So you might say that directional association is important. It is. Over time, prediction errors have decreased. So a pattern like this that comes from upper left is said to be negative, so like this. And this one is upward. So the second thing to look for is scatter plot or line plot data points is the form. So if there's a straight line relationship, it will appear as cloud or swan points resolving. So if it's not, then you can use prediction error versus here. Okay. So scatter plots can reveal many kinds of patterns. So ito medyo may wrap it up to, but either way you can still get the pattern. Okay, you can also find like this. Hirap, di ba? So lalo na kapag ganito. So it means random really. So if you're going to look at it directly in the first instance, there is no form or any shape at all. So it's very difficult. So let's try to apply this one on something that we already know, which is Apple. Okay, so here we're going to interpret what happened or what the trend of Apple specifically iPhone. Alright, so looking at here, they started with iPhone 4S. Wait lang. Okay, so they started with iPhone 4S here. So what is really interesting is the amount of is the cost of the iPhones that's being released. So this is the price of iPhones in euros. So this is in euro. Okay, so tingnan nyo na lang. So we started here at iPhone 4S, then a very small increase, so slope here, and then not a very high change here from iPhone 5 to iPhone 5s because there is no significant improvement in the design. As you can see, iPhone 5 and iPhone 5s doesn't really have a difference aside from the fact that iPhone 5s has a fingerprint sensor and LTE capability. So basically the same. But if you're going to look at the change between the iPhone 5s and iPhone 6s, masyadong malaki yung kanilang differences. So, tumaas bigla ang presyo pagdating sa iPhone 6s Plus. Bakit? Kasi naman, isipin nyo na lang, ang iPhone 5s is only 4-inch screen. Ang iPhone 6s Plus is 5.5. So, malaki talaga ang difference sa price ng dalawa at the same time yung technology used. Meanwhile, you also observe the similar pattern here. Increase from from iPhone 6 Plus to iPhone 6s Plus. So, ibig sabihin, ito ang question, very curious lang. Meron bang difference between iPhone 6 Plus and iPhone 6s Plus? Well, in terms of the features, at saka itsura, parasang sila. So, parasang sila. So, bakit ang taas ng presyo, ba't ang taas ang single ng Apple sa iPhone 6s Plus? The reason for this one is, yung iPhone 6 Plus kasi, ang problem niyan is, masyado siyang manipis to the point na hindi siya mag-break. Hindi siyang mayupi. Yung iPhone 6s Plus is, naiwan yung ganung kanipis, pero naging mas matibay. Kasi gumamit ng ibang, mas matibay na alloy ang iPhone 6s Plus. Kaya yung body ng cellphone is hindi na madaling mayupi. Kaya, mahal ang singil nila. Pero in the first place kasi, kasalanan naman nila yun. Diba? Kasalanan naman nila yun kasi gumamit sila ng mahinang material. So, kasalanan nila yun. Pero bakit nila pinapasa sa consumer? Kaya natin. Yun ang problema sa Apple. Pero syempre, business to. Okay, moving forward. Okay, you can see here that there is a jump, also a jump and increase of the price from 6s to iPhone 7 Plus. Now, it's important to note that iPhone 6s Plus only has one camera, while iPhone 7 Plus has two cameras. Ito kasi yung cellphone ko ngayon. Then, we can see a huge increase. So, masyadong mataas na increase from 7 Plus to iPhone 10. And the reason for this one is kasi iba na ang design ng iPhone. Dati kasi, ganyan lang. Ito yung 7 Plus. Ito yung iPhone 10. So, di ba ang layo na? So, marami na nangyayaring changes dito. Kaya sobrang taas na. Ngayon, pataas na yung presyuhan ng Apple. So, this is a time basis or time basis or time series plot. So, very important yung time series plot in order for you to detect changes or to see the progress or the regression of something. Okay? So, Apple revenue naman tayo ngayon. So, as you can see, na-introduce ang iPhone 7, iPhone 6s, na-introduce ang Apple iPhone 6 sa year 1.5 dito. And then, pagdating dito, diba, gumamit na sila ng iPhone 10. So, ito yung mga iPhone 10 nila. So, nagiging mababa yung revenue nila kahit tumataas yung presyo nila kasi nga, yung mga component is mas mahal. What I mean to say is, dun sa iPhone 10, ang pinakamahal na component dyan yung kanyang screen. Kasi yung screen na ginagamit niya is OLED. At isa lang ang OLED manufacturers na the best sa buong mundo. Samsung. Sabi ng Samsung, yeah! Ang ganda nga na phone mo. Sa amin naman galing ang display. So, ganun. Alright, so this is the iPhone depreciation chart. So, still, if you want to buy if going to buy an iPhone or gusto mo pumasok sa iPhone club, so you have to check for this graph. Now, very important to note here yung blue line and then yung gold line. So, yung blue line is iPhone 10s and this is the iPhone 10. Papansin nyo, konti lang ang diferensya ng iPhone XS sa iPhone 10. Konting-konti lang. Bakit? Kasi yung iPhone 10 kasi papansin nyo, yung design ng iPhone 10 at ng iPhone 10s ay halos parehas lang naman. Whereas yung pinakamababa, iPhone 7, is ang layo na talaga ng itsura niya sa mga bagong iPhones. So, madaling i-justify yung pag-depreciate ng kanyang value. Right? So now, how to determine the correlation between two variables? Let's say x and y. So how do we determine that? So first step is we get the mean of x. We get the mean of x and y. We also get their standard deviation. So S x and sy. Now, yung standard deviation dyan is the sample standard deviation, not the population standard deviation. Kasi a standard deviation for a sample, nalalaman nyo yun. So, summation of x minus x, x bar squared over n minus 1. Pero kasi pag population, standard deviation, it'll be x mu squared all over n. So, kapag population, use this one. And for sample, alalahanin nyo na lang ang n minus 1. Pag population n. So, here, this is a sample. Okay? So, alright. Okay, so again, we're going to compute for x bar. So, sorry. So this is 6 plus 10 plus 14 plus 19 plus 21. So this is 70 divided by 5. And y bar is 5 plus 3 plus 7 plus 8 plus 12. This is 35. So 35 divided by 5. So the mean is 14 for the x. And for the y, 7. Okay. Now, for the sample standard deviation for x, so that's 5 minus 1. And then we have 6 minus 14 squared plus 10 minus 14 squared plus, okay, 14 plus 14, so 0 squared plus 19 minus 14 squared plus 21 minus 14 squared. So square root. So, okay, so standard deviation for the sample is equivalent to, okay, baka meron kayong alam na technique na mas mabilis. Siguro sa calculator nyo, kayo na lang siguro maghanap. Sir Ikan kasi hindi kasi mahilig sa mga calculator tricks. Ito sa mga caltech, di ako mahilig sa caltech kasi engineering sa akin hindi naman na-waves. So, standard deviation is 6.20. Okay, for x. And for y, so this is okay, so this is 3.39. Alright. So, third step is to create the table. Okay, so, we have the product. Ba't yung to? Wait lang po ah. Wait lang po. Okay. So, gawa yung graph na kukunin nyo yung variation. Then, variation ng x and then ito bago to. Variation ng y. Nagluloko. Okay. Ayoko ng mga naglulokong tao. Sure. Drama. Okay. Wait lang po ah. Okay. So, kanina, ang ating x bar, pixelated. Okay, yung ating x bar, natin is, ilang nga ito yan? Kalimutan ko na. Okay. Ating x bar is 14. Ating y bar is 7. Ng ating standard deviation for x is 6.20. Ang ating standard deviation for y is 3.39. Okay, so gaya sabi ko sa inyo kanina, gagawa tayo ng table. Okay. So, ito yung product ng variance ng y and variance ng x. So, here, kunin natin yung variance ng sample. So, 6 minus 14. Ito naman ay 10 minus 14. We have 0 kasi 14 minus 14. 19 minus 14. We have 21 minus 14. Sa variable y naman, we have 5 minus 7. 3 minus 7. 7 minus 7 is 0. 8 minus 7. We have 12 minus 7. Alright, so the product is, we have 6 minus 14. So we have negative 8. We have times negative 2. Okay, so equals. So this is negative 4 times negative 4. So this is 16. We also have 16 here. So we have 0. So we have 19 minus 4. We have 5 times 8 minus 7 is 1. Is it correct? Yes, we have 1. So this is 5. And we have 35. Okay, ito total natin yan. So that is equivalent to 72. Okay, so 72 lahat ito. So ang tanong, tapos na ba? Hindi pa po tapos. Okay. Oh, sorry. Hindi pa tapos. Kasi meron pa kayong i-compute. You will find for a new value. Let's say this is x, x, x. Okay. So we're going to use n minus 1. Remember this formula. Times the standard deviation for x. Standard deviation for y. Okay. So that is 5 minus 1. Kasi 5 yung samples natin. Times 6.20 times 3.39. Okay, and this xxx is equivalent to 84.07. Okay, now tapos na po ba? Hindi pa po tapos. Pasensya na po, hindi pa po tapos ito. So the correlation between x and y can be solved using the formula correlation r. Okay, small r is equivalent to 72 divided by 84.07, and that is equivalent to 85, 0.856. Okay, So, ibig sabihin, the correlation between x and y is 0.856, or this is basically equivalent to 85.6%. So, ibig sabihin, they are correlated by 85.6%. So, yung x and y is correlated 85.6%. So, ito yung interpretation niyan. Okay? So, that's correlation. Next is regression. Now, again, sabi ko kanina, regression is prediction. We're going to predict. Okay? So, this is a good example of regression. So, for example, this is a burger. Alright? So, burger. So, sabi dito, kung hindi nyo nabasahin to, ibig sabihin kasi dito, every time daw, meron, yung patty niya, okay, for every protein o gram ng patty, ito yung makukuha mong protein. And every protein o gram itong patty is ito yung makukuha mong fat. So, makikita importante itong data na to para sa mga nagda-diet. Okay. So, parang importante sa mga nagda-diet. So, ibig sabihin, kapag tumataas yung protein ng iyong patty, tumataas din ang iyong fat. Okay? So, yun ang ibig sabihin yan. So, ibig sabihin ba niyan, mapipredict din natin kung ilan yung fat kapag makuha natin yung protein? Yes. Mapipredict natin yan using regression. Kasi sa regression, we have least square method and we can get the line. We already know that the line of a graph has an equation. Okay? And that equation is also translated to its model. And now, a model is an equation is a model. We all know that the equation for a straight line, is y is equals to mx plus b. Therefore, manakuha natin ang kanyang slope. Okay? Which m. Therefore, kapag alam natin ang formula, makukuha din natin ang values ng x and y. Alright? So, again, it's a model of the essence of the relationship, and the linear model is the equation of a straight line through data. And that is y is equals to mx plus b. So, like all models of the real world, the line will be wrong in the sense that it can't match reality exactly. Kasi nga, we're only predicting. So, hindi tayo makakuha ng exact value. That is why we have to understand our residuals. Okay? So, the residuals, hindi nyo kailangan basahin yan. Explain ko lang sa inyo in a very simple term. Residual is telling us how far the model's prediction is at the point. For example, the residual can be computed using the formula y minus y hat. And that y hat is our predicted value. Okay? So, sir, ano po ba yung predicted value? Predicted value, remember, is the value na nakukuha natin sa formula. For example, nakuha na natin ang, di ba, alam natin yan, may line. Okay? Ulitin ko ulit ha. Kapag may mga data points tayo, makukuha natin ang kanyang equation. At kapag nakuha natin ang equation na yan, makukuha na natin ang x at y. For example, gusto natin mapredict ang value ng y. So, kapag gumamit ng equation na to, yung makukuha natin na value ng y, yun na yung tinatawag natin predicted value. Okay? Predicted value. And what about this y? Ang y na yan, yung tinatawag na observe. Ibig sabihin, ito yung true value. Ito yung totoong nangyari. Ito yung predicted lang natin using the formula. Okay? So, the residual gives us an interpretation, okay, that a negative residual means that we predicted a value which is too big. So, it means that we overestimate. And a positive residual means to show that the model makes an underestimate. So, ibig sabihin, kapag negative yung nakuha natin sa residual, okay, nag-overestimate tayo. In-overestimate ng ating model yung actual value. Alright? Again, nakukuha natin yung model dito sa ating data. Pero syempre, hindi ka magiging exacto. May error pa rin yan. Okay, so mamaya papakita ko sa inyo tinatawag na residual. Okay, so dito po pasok yung best fit or means least square. So in simple term, ito na yung mismong line. So paano ginagawa yan? Okay, actually we don't really have to compute it because Excel already has a function. We can use the Excel function to do this for us. Tuturuan ko kayo mamaya kung paano. Okay? So, for example, what is the sense of this regression? So, what is the value of y if x is 21? Alright. So, pero balikan natin yun, ma'am. Oh, okay. So, what is the essence of this regression? So, what is the value of y if x is equals to 21? Okay. Card. So, gagamit tayo ng Excel. So, gawa tayong table dito. So, x and this is y. Sunod ko lang. So we have 6, we have 10, we have 14, 19, and we have 21. And for y, we have 5, 3, 7, we have 8. Okay? And we have, we don't know this one, right? We don't know. So we're going to interpret this one. Pero alam na natin sa data yan. Kanina kasi sa data, okay. Sa data kasi kanina, yan ay 12. Okay, so balikan natin. So, let's say 12 yan. Let's say hindi natin alam yan, okay? Let's say hindi natin alam. Pero alamin natin kasi yun ang hinahanap eh. Ano yung 12? Pero let's say hindi natin alam. Gagawa muna tayo ng model gamit ito, data na to. Okay? So, paano yun? Pero before that, iti-test po natin correlation. Diba ano kung natin kanina na correlation is 0.856? Tama ba ako? Okay, so paano natin kukunin ang correlation ng two variables using Excel function? So, punta tayo dito. Punta tayo sa function na to. We look for statistical, and we look for correlation. Okay, so RA1, okay, we have 21, and RA2, we have this one. Okay, so ito yung sagot. So, malapit lang, di ba? So, ibig sabihin ba niyan, sir, nakukuha namin lahat sa Excel? Yes. Kaya niyo pong kunin ng lahat ng klase, almost lahat ng klase ng statistical analysis sa Excel. So, ang tinuro ko pa lang sa inyo ngayon is correlation. Mamaya, tuturuan ko kayo paano gamitin ang regression. Okay, so, again, since regression and correlation analysis relies on scatter plots, so gagawa tayo ng scatter plot. So, insert, scatter plot. Okay, scatter. Alright, so, edit data, select data, add, let's say, relationship. Shift mo. So, the x values, these are the x values. For the y values, these are the y values. Alright, so, okay. So, papansin nyo, ito na yung scatter plot ng iyong variables. Now, may meaning ba ito para sa'yo? Yeah, may meaning yan. Ibig sabihin pataas. But we don't really understand it. So, can we predict what happens if we find it, for example, 25 or let's say 21? So, kanina sa problem kasi is 21. So, what is the value of 21? What is the value if x is 21? What is the value of y if x is 21? Okay? So, again, sabi ko sa inyo kanina, kukunin niyo yung this square method. Pero hindi natin gagawin yun. Gagawin na natin directly dito sa Excel. So, to do that, we go to Design, Quick Layout, and then click for this one. Okay? So, ito na agad yun. So, ito nakikita nyo yung line. Yan na yung kanyang regression line or yung least squares. At ito na yung formula natin. So, papansin nyo, ang formula natin is in terms of y is equals to 0.4675x plus 0.4545. So, ibig sabihin, can we compute for the values of x and y using this formula? Yes, we can also predict the future values using this one. For example, 25. Kung x natin 25, ano yung y? Kaya din natin po yun makuha using this formula. But, hindi siya accurate. Prediction lang talaga siya. Okay? So, let's try. So, what is the value of y if x is 21? So, try the calculator nyo using the formula. 0.4675 times 21 kasi yun ang value ng x plus 0.4545. Okay, so sa calculator nyo, makikita nyo na ang sagot sa calculator is 10.272. Diba ang layo? Diba dapat 12 ang sagot? Yun nga ang tinutukoy ko dito. Kasi, ano lang to, prediction lang ito. So, yung nakuha nating value, which is based on the prediction. So, ito yung tinatawag natin prediction value. Ito yung tinatawag natin prediction value. Itong 10.272. So, ang real value natin, ang observation natin, ang observation talaga is 12. Tama? So, ibig sabihin, ang ating residual natin ng residual natin, ang formula niyan yung kanina, y minus y hat. And that is 12 minus 10.272. So, this is equivalent to positive. So, 12 minus 10.272. Alright? So, this is equivalent to 1 point. So, this is a positive. Positive 1.728. So, ano nga ulit ang ibig sabihin? Okay? Ibig sabihin, kapag positive daw, shows that the model makes an underestimate. So, ibig sabihin, the model that we use is underestimate. And the reason for this one is because we cannot really predict it in a very high accuracy. Kasi nga, konti lang yung data points natin. So, how can we increase the reliability of our test? Again, gaya sa binibigay ko sa inyo sa quiz, paulit-ulit, we increase the reliability and the power of our test, of our model, by increasing the number of samples that we test. Kasi more samples, more data, more reliable yung ating magiging model. Alright? So, ibig sabihin ba, sir, kapag dumami yung data points natin, magbabago rin ang equation? Yes po, magbabago rin ang equation at mas tataas ang power ng ating test. Therefore, mas bababa yung ating residual. Okay? So, yun ang ibig ko sabihin dito. So, that is how you use Excel to determine correlation and regression and use it to predict the possible outcomes. So, I hope that you learned a lot from me today. Really. Sana. And please, if you have questions, you can always send me a message. And besides, you can do examples at the book also in YouTube, in the internet, for you to know more about correlation and regression analysis. So that's it for this video. I hope you learned a lot today. Okay, bye-bye.